Okay, guys, Adam Trigger here. It is Tuesday. On the Clock is back. We'll be with you the rest of the week. Last week just got away from me. Like once the game started, we did that hour-long live show on Tuesday or on Thursday before the round of 64 kicked off. I got to be honest, there were so many games down at Turning Stone doing some content both days, Thursday and Friday. By the weekend, I was just, Saturday morning, all of a sudden we've got games again at 11 a.m. So love to have all the games. Makes it a little bit tougher to get the content out. But we're back the rest of the week, and I'm going to be doing a little hybrid basketball, baseball, and we'll see. We'll probably keep this around in some capacity into baseball season. So I am going to use the clock today, something I kind of abandoned last week, but the show is called On the Clock. So we've got to bring the clock back. 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. And before I get into it, I do have a 5% play tonight in the CBI. So great start to me for the week. CBI winner on Monday. This morning hit my KBO game, 4%, both 4% winners. So we've got a little bit of momentum going into the new week. My 5% college basketball play tonight is in the CBI tournament. So what I'm going to do on this show is go through both NIT games, and then I'm going to give a couple of Korean baseball thoughts out, which may or may not materialize into a play. So we'll see. But I've got thoughts in the NIT, just haven't bet either of them yet. And so that's where we're going to start. 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. We got the buzzer back, which means when it sounds, we move on. And we're going to start in Peoria, Illinois with the first semifinal, or the first of 4 quarterfinals, I'm sorry, in the NIT with Chattanooga and Bradley. And, Bradley, man, I don't know how they beat George Mason on Saturday. Not that it would have mattered to me. The game I had Mason parlayed into ended up losing anyway, so it's whatever to me. But like that is a surprising result to me right there. That Bradley without Zeke Montgomery and essentially without Darius Hannah, who gets hurt in that game. And when Duke Dean, not playing particularly well, was able to go in and beat George Mason in Fairfax, was a kind of a shocking result to me. I thought that Bradley played out of their minds in that game. And I don't know if they can, they only got 9 points from Duke Dean, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And he hit a huge shot to sort of put the game away at the end of the game. But he also was he was a little bit banged up. Of course, Darius Hannah was one of the 2 that opted out. And then sort of got guilted into playing, and now gets hurt, and he has a injury that's going to keep him out of the tournament. So a little bit ironic there. But man, you're already down Montgomery, you're already down Hannah. I'm sure Duke Dean is going to play tonight, but he might be a little bit banged up. I don't know that I necessarily would have what would lay points with Bradley here. But that being said, they looked incredible on Saturday against George Mason. I cannot believe how good they looked in that game. Guys that I I've barely seen play, stepping up and making big plays. So that's really what sometimes happens in these tournaments. You heard Bradley's coach prior to this tournament was like, we're going to play some of our younger guys. I get it. It is what it is. He didn't seem that worried to be without Montgomery and without Hannah for this tournament. Now on the other side, Chattanooga's been without Frank Champion, who I have contended is their best player. I think he is the most talented all-around player on that Chattanooga roster. They've been far better with him versus without him. I think they win the SoCon, end up in the NCAA tournament easily if he plays. And with him not playing on Saturday against Dayton, now we still bet Chattanooga there anyway, but with him not playing in that game, I thought Chattanooga did well, but again, I don't know that I kind of my gut told me that maybe he would play. It was a huge home game for Chattanooga. He's been listed day to day. I don't know if I for sure make that bet, guaranteed make that bet if I know for a fact he's out. Now, it turned out to work out nicely for us. It won, and I wanted to fade Dayton anyway, but that's kind of where I'm at here. I want to play against Bradley. I've played against Bradley in the first 2 games of the NIT so far. Hasn't worked out for me. But if Champion's going to be out, and now you have Chattanooga going on the road. I do think it's a little bit tougher to do so, even though I still lean toward Chattanooga. I think Chattanooga plus the points, if you absolutely force me to bet this game, is absolutely what I would take. If for some reason Frank Champion shows up in that lineup, yeah, I would be all in on Chattanooga in that case. But without him, I just decided to focus my efforts elsewhere. Again, full strength Chattanooga with Champion. I'm all over Chattanooga here. Without him, Bradley's still going to have a really good crowd on hand. That's the thing. They had a great crowd for the North Alabama game. And I mean, it's going to be a home atmosphere for them tonight. So makes it a little bit tougher, especially with how well Bradley has played without some of their guys so far in this tournament. So I went way over the clock. Got to get used to having the clock back because I went well over the 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But I will wrap that up by saying lean Chattanooga in the first NIT quarterfinal for Tuesday. Okay. Going to get the clock out. Going to try to actually stay to 2 minutes and 30 seconds for this one. And we are going to go over to Stillwater, Oklahoma, which is I suppose a talking point here for the second quarterfinal on Tuesday. So we've got North Texas, Oklahoma State. I will on this show. I said I think I really thought the winner of this tournament would either be George Mason or the winner of the North Texas SMU game. And sure enough, I'm going to probably be wrong about that because Mason's out and SMU is inexplicably out. They lost a home game to Oklahoma State over the weekend. And what's crazy about that is North Texas must have really been banking on SMU to win that game because they scheduled a gymnastics meet and a couple of other school functions at the Super Pit. So now North Texas should be hosting an NIT quarterfinal game to get to Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, and they're not going to be able to host the quarterfinal game, which is it just sucks for North Texas because I really think that I'd be all over them at home here. They're a team I've got to see this North Texas team play twice this year. Honestly, I'm shocked they didn't find a way to get into the NCAA tournament. I feel like they're a tournament team when I've watched them this year. I did think that they would play well in this tournament. I would have loved them as an underdog catching points at SMU. I would have loved them home here. They probably are like a 2-point favorite, maybe a 1.5 or a 2-point favorite at home against Oklahoma State. But it's just brutal that they have to now go on the road and play this game in Stillwater. Not that I think Oklahoma State's going to have like a crazy home crowd here, but man, that really takes like a pretty big edge away from North Texas. And the other thing I will say, Oklahoma State did look good in that SMU game. They have a very deep bench, and you have to start to wonder, this was an Oklahoma State team that was 7-13 in the Big 12. So that's not a terrible record considering a lot of these Big 12 teams ended up in the NCAA tournament. And you're starting to see how the power conference teams are faring in the NCAA tournament against the mid-majors. Does Oklahoma State just outclass some of these mid-major teams? Like, let's say a Texas Tech, we kind of saw them just outclass Wichita State in the first round. I guess you would call it an upset because they were a pretty big underdog to SMU, but again, they didn't look like much of an underdog in that game. I just don't think I'm getting enough points here. I would have loved North Texas as a much bigger underdog against SMU. Only getting 1 or 1.5, it's just not enough for me to, get involved with North Texas, even though I still think North Texas is the way I would lean in this game. I think my gut feeling says that they're in the NIT semifinals. They've done extremely well in this tournament over the years. So again, that's a tough one for me to call right there. I really like this North Texas team. I badly want to play North Texas here. But again, I just didn't get close to the number I would have wanted, where if we were playing them on the road against SMU, they're catching a couple possessions. So couldn't get there with either in the NIT, but I do lean, for what it's worth, I lean Chattanooga plus the points, and I lean North Texas plus the 1.5, I think it is right now. All right, let's go over to the KBO, 1-1 to officially start the 2025 baseball season. I lost my KBO play on Sunday, but I won this morning with the Lotte Giants. And I'll just give you an idea of, I mean, this is kind of how I'm handicapping baseball this year. Like, I'm pretty much going to rely on my AAA power ratings and my ability to assess talent in the context of AAA to generate plays for me in KBO and to generate plays for me in MLB, because I think that's where my biggest edge is by far. It's how I made all of my units back and then some after a bad April last year. I just think that I have a better. I price these guys coming from AAA better than the books do, because I'm sitting there watching like countless numbers of AAA games. I just don't think the people making these lines are necessarily doing that. And so it really helped. It helped. I feel like it helped me identify Tucker Davidson as a play today. Logie didn't work out in the Doosan game over the weekend, but that's like sort of what I'm leaning on as I handicap KBO. And it's absolutely how I'll be looking at a lot of Major League Baseball games as guys get called up, pitchers get called up, so on and so forth. So it'll probably mean we ease into the season because we need that roster movement to sort of like generate some plays. But that's kind of what I'm looking at for baseball this year. And I'll be heavily immersed in baseball all season long, right through the World Series. I was red hot to finish both KBO and MLB last year. I won in AAA for like the third straight year. I'm including those plays with the service this year. So hop on. There's a great special that gets you all of April and the rest of March, which would also get you the 5% play today up on my page. The only thing I'm looking at in KBO, for Wednesday morning would be Kiwoom Heroes plus the 1.5. And I haven't even seen a line for this game yet, so it's going to be like heavily contingent on what the line is. I also am not entirely sure if I even want to like poke the bear and play Kiwoom on the road at Kia. But I will talk about like what my handicap would be and why I'm sort of looking to do so. So Kiwoom is interesting in the respect that they're one of the first KBO teams in a while to go one foreign pitcher, two foreign hitters. Almost always, so each team gets 3 foreign players allowed on the roster. Typically ex-MLB guys, American. Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be Americans, but non-Korean born guys that come over from the MLB and end up being the team's best players. And almost every team every year uses 2 of those spots on pitchers and then 1 of those spots for an offensive player or a hitter. Kiwoom this year has decided to go 2 hitters, which is very, very intriguing to me because A, they're already priced as the worst team in the league because they were the worst team in the league last year. And B, I think their 2 hitters, Yasiel Puig and Ruben Cardenas, are like 2 of the best hitters in this league right now, at least have the upside to be 2 of the best hitters in this league. Cardenas was tearing the cover off the ball at AAA last year. He got over to Korea with Samsung, didn't play much, ended up getting hurt. But, I mean, he is a monster offensive talent. And then, of course, we all know Yasiel Puig. Yeah, he's getting a little bit older, but still very, very productive in this league. So, my whole thing is, how's the pitching going to hold up? And so far, not too good. Kiwoom, 0-3. They've given up 13, 11, and 11, respectively. That's the scores of their first 3 games. 13-5 loss to Samsung, 11-7 loss to Samsung, 11-6 loss to Kia. But my kind of thought process is this. Kiwoom is very good at identifying young talent. Like they've put the last 3 big Korean-born players to make the jump to the big leagues. Ha-Sung Kim, who's been on the Padres now, he's basically a starter. Hye-Seong Kim, who's over with the Dodgers now, he came over this year. And then, of course, Jung-Ho Lee, big signing for the Giants, all from the Kiwoom organization. So they tend to be very good at developing talent and identifying talent. And so my thought process with Kiwoom is that they're going to have some young guys that we don't even know about that are pretty good. Hopefully 1 or 2 of those guys is a pitcher. And then so they can kind of offset not having that like second ace. And then their lineup, I mean, yeah, they've lost 3 games in a row, but they've still scored 5, 7, and 6 in each losses. Like this should be a pretty productive lineup if they've got Cardenas and Puig hitting 2-3 or 2-4, however they want to break it up. So I'm going to look for a spot in with Kiwoom in the coming days as they get toward the end of teams' rotations, right? Because they've now had to face like Samsung's 2 of their best pitchers. They went up against Adam Aller yesterday, made his KBO debut for Kia. And they still knocked him around 10, they still scored 10 runs on 6 hits. Aller gave up, I believe, 4 of those runs. So my whole thing is like, what's going to happen when Kiwoom gets up against one of these lesser pitchers at the back end of the rotation? Now, Young Chol Yoon, who's going to throw for Kia today, is pretty good. As far as like domestic guys at the end of a Korean baseball rotation go, he's pretty good, but that's kind of going to be my thought process with Kiwoom. So I don't know, maybe depending on what the price is, maybe I take a shot here, plus 1.5. I can't see myself playing anything else for KBO for Wednesday morning. So if I have a play, it's probably going to be that. If it is that, I'll probably post it for free. But that's like the best I've got in terms of like a baseball lean for Wednesday. Would be Wednesday morning. Gave you my 2 NIT leans. $5 Tuesday at WagerTalk. I've got a 5% college basketball play looking to start the week 3-0 and take all sorts of momentum into baseball opening day, MLB opening day, which of course is Thursday. AAA opening day is Friday. We've got the Sweet 16. So great week to take advantage of that special. Get yourself the rest of March for free when you buy April right now at WagerTalk. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning. We'll talk more baseball. I'll try to have something for MLB opening day on tomorrow's show, and we'll talk the other NIT quarterfinals tomorrow, maybe even a little Sweet 16 talk as well. Thank you guys for watching. As always, we'll see you guys in the morning.